Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you wake up, look in the mirror, and you just see this monster. Not because you actually changed, but because someone else, you know, deliberately warped the glass.
Right, like a funhouse mirror.
Exactly. Enduring a smear campaign is basically like being trapped in a funhouse mirror maze. It's disorienting, and it's entirely designed to distort your image to the outside world. So today, we are doing a deep dive into the anatomy of these attacks.
Yeah.
We're using resources and writings by Ori Karim to figure out how you shift from a visceral emotional reaction to a calculated strategy when your truth is being weaponized.
Because your immediate instinct, like any human, when you
Uh,
see that distorted reflection, is to just panic. Right?
yeah.
You want to yell that it isn't real.
Oh, absolutely.
But a smear campaign is, well, it's a highly orchestrated effort to damage your reputation using manipulated truths and outright lies. And Ori Karen's own experience really highlights a dark reality here. She noted these attacks strike when you are most vulnerable. Like for her, the harassment actually intensified right after the death of her father, Leroy Canty.
Oh, wow. That is awful.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the research she cites actually points out that women are disproportionately targeted by this specific kind of online character assassination.
So what does this all mean for you, the victim, when your immediate human instinct is just to fight back emotionally? I mean, especially if someone is lying about you while you're already grieving.
Well, looking at the clinical context Ori brings up, like the DSM-5 definitions for narcissistic and antisocial personality disorders, you realize these attackers are not operating rationally.
Right.
They are operating on a desperate need for control. A smear campaign completely robs you of your safety, sure, but the mechanism behind it is entirely about the attacker's need for control, not your character.
So it's projection.
Exactly. They actually want your dysregulation.
That makes so much sense. So that instinct to fight back emotionally is exactly why a deliberate playbook is required to survive. You know, Ori actually outlines a really calculated 3-step strategy to reclaim your voice.
Yes. Step one is depersonalizing. You have to turn off that emotional tap and almost coldly become an investigator in your own life.
Which sounds incredibly hard to do in the moment.
Oh, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But once you detach, you move to step two, which is documenting everything.
Yeah.
You literally build a fillable database of receipts, screenshots, all those behavioral patterns.
I love that. It's like building a black box for a plane crash.
Right.
Because when everything goes down in flames, whether you're navigating massive online echo chambers or just, toxic workplace gossip, that black box holds the objective data of what actually happened. Truth relies on evidence.
Absolutely. And after you gather the data, step three is setting ironclad boundaries to completely block those toxic influences. This actually ties directly into a concept Ori discusses on her Shade Out Shame podcast. She calls it strategic stillness.
Strategic stillness. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it means silence is a calculated strategy, not a surrender. You just observe. And by doing that, you starve the attacker of the emotional supply they are actively trying to provoke from you.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You don't just sit on that black box of evidence forever in silence. What do you actually do with it? You have to explore your rights.
Right, and quick disclaimer here, neither of us are lawyers or medical professionals, so always consult a qualified expert for your specific situation. But legally, you are looking at defamation laws. Slander for spoken lies, libel for written ones.
Right. But when this happens online, you run straight into Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Because this legislation generally protects tech platforms from being sued for what their users post, which makes getting defamatory content removed incredibly difficult. It's this massive tension. The First Amendment protects free speech, but it absolutely does not grant a license for defamation.
Exactly. The legal hurdle is incredibly steep, which is why reclaiming your narrative often has to become a very personal, creative, or even spiritual war cry. I mean, Ori wrote a poem titled Girl, Who Are You Kidding?
Yeah.
To fight back against the betrayal she experienced.
Wow.
Yeah, and she grounds her resilience in biblical backing, specifically Isaiah 54.17, the idea that no weapon fashioned against you will ultimately succeed.
Just so it shifts the focus entirely away from them.
Right, healing itself becomes the ultimate victory. As she says in her newsletter, let's heal louder than they lied.
Let's heal louder than they lied. What a perfect summary of this journey from a smear campaign to actual strength. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to explore on your own. If strategic stillness is your best defense, and you completely deprive the attacker of the emotional reaction they are desperately trying to provoke, I mean, how do they ultimately sabotage themselves? Eventually, they are just left standing alone in that funhouse mirror maze, yelling at their own distorted reflection.